I start out my morning and just, really focus and visualize like, okay, well, who am I and where are we going? And this is just one facet of a multifaceted human being. There are no limitations. We've realized like we have to take the roof off any kind of limitation. And so now it's just literally we get to dream. We get to dream and it's chasing after us. The dreams are chasing us.
It's the best, isn't it? Welcome back to the Yogi Triathlete Podcast. I'm Jess, your host, and I'm joined today by my co-host BJ and the food magicians behind Nomad Eats. Jasmine and Rebecca are the creators of what the locals here are calling liquid gold. Nomad Eats is a name that you'll want to remember, people, because I have a feeling that these ladies are going big time. BJ and I have been feasting on their nacho cheese sauce on a weekly basis, and honestly, you could eat it every night because you guys, unlike many of the vegan cheese products on the market, Nomad sauces are made from whole plant foods with no added oils. I am so fired up to dive into their stories as we've been chatting before we put the mics on, and it's already like good life transformative topics. But we are finding ourselves yet again, you guys, sharing another venture that was birthed from two people simply doing what they love. If you are coming to our training camp, then you're going to be indulging in these amazing products. And Jasmine and Rebecca have stepped up to be one of our camp sponsors. We'll be recovering our worked bodies on Friday night with a high vibe fiesta that will include Nomad Eats nacho cheese. And your fridges will be stocked with even more, including the macaroni and cheese sauce, which I'm feeling would be an amazing sauce poured over some bright green steamed veggies. We are psyched to be partnering with these amazing ladies and thankful that they're here with us today to share their stories and their dreams for the future. Jasmine and Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you.
Here you are in the midst of this company that has been birthed, and it's now giving birth and growing and growing and growing. And, being a local, and Jasmine, you and I met at the yoga studio that I used to teach at here in the village. And I remember, this starting to come into fruition. And now we're seeing you guys at some of the bigger markets around North County. And of course, the farmers market, which you've now moved into preparing food. What did you think you were going to do in your professional life?
Early on, there was the idea of like, I'm going to finish college. I'm going to do this. I majored in sociology. So at UCSC, so totally was just like, I'm really interested in people. I'm interested in connecting. I don't know what that's going to turn into. And so I didn't really honestly have that much of an idea. I guess when I was younger, I had the like, oh, I'll be a doctor. But I don't really like blood and touching everyone. So obviously that's not realistic. But once food has always been my passion, something I did with my grandma all the time. And she always cooked vegetarian ever since I was growing up. And just watching her in the kitchen was always so joyful. And then as I grew up, I was like, I'm always having people over just to make them food. I think I might really enjoy this. And then I met Rebecca, and she also enjoyed it. And we would then all of a sudden we're just having all these dinners and inviting people over just to make food for them. And then the cheese sauce was kind of created in that way. We started doing like speakeasy dinners at my house, just making food, being like, I don't know what we want to do. We want to do something because we both were like, we don't want to work for someone. We knew that. We just knew that we wanted to have our own independence, our own ability to create and go. Because sometimes when you're in that common workforce, there's the like, just do. Don't ask, just do. And I was like, I don't know about that. So we would have the dinners, and everyone was always talking about the sauce, the cheese sauce. And then we were just like, okay, I guess we'll put in some mason jars. Here you go. And then friends started sharing it with friends. And I got contacted from like people would contact me at 10 o'clock at night being like, can I get the cheese sauce? I'm like, what do you think? Do you think you can get cheese at 10 o'clock at night? No. So then I was like, we were like, okay, let's start an Instagram.
You're getting like drunk dials.
Basically.
Yeah, we gave out our phone number.
And that was a bad idea. Very bad idea, because people didn't have boundaries. They were just like, I just need it though. When can you make more? And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe tomorrow. And they're like, are you sure tomorrow? Come on, like a fee. And I was like, whoa. And then I would actually ironically meet them in the back alley of Just Peachy, and they would drive their car up and it looked sort of like a drug deal. And the guys who worked there would always be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, it's cheese sauce. And they were actually Just Peachy, and Leucadia was the first store that took our sauce. They were like, this is too dangerous, girl. You need to let us sell it for you. We don't like you going in the back alley and meeting strangers. And then that's how it started growing. And then markets, and then people with our sauce. What's great is once people try it, they understand.
Oh yeah. You get it right away. I love it though, Jasmine. Like you loved people, and you wanted to connect with people, and you loved food. So, boom. Like you're doing exactly what you wanted to do. And it's funny when we go to college, or, we put a label on it, meaning a major. And for some of us, that's really passion filled. For some of us, we're just like, I have no idea, which was my story. But you're doing exactly what was always placed on your heart. It just came organically.
Exactly. And like when we listened to your last podcast about like kind of quitting the regular and just doing what feels right. And me and Rebecca just each put in some money and started a company, and we're like, well, we just got to trust and know that like we're doing what we love, and then that will multiply. Yeah. And that's exactly what has happened ever since we started the business.
That's so cool. Rebecca, what did you think you were going to do with your professional life?
Well, I studied the arts, so I don't know. I just, I'm one of those people that just kind of like cruise through life, and my husband's kind of like that too. And I didn't even finish college actually, and I started actually traveling the world, helping different people groups and teaching English and kind of like missions and stuff like that. Then we moved here, and our lives changed, and I kind of thought I would just be maybe a stay-at-home wife, or I don't know, something along those net lines. And so I became a nanny, and I worked in plant-based restaurants and things like that. And same story, Jasmine and I bonded over food. And
how did you guys meet?
Through, I'm not going to say the company, but we met through a plant-based superfood company. And we sat right next to each other the first day of training, and yeah.
And that was the conduit that brought you guys together. Yeah, I love it. Awesome. So, and did you always love creating? Like, where does...
Yeah, so I was raised, both my parents cook. And so, yeah, I was just raised with really good food. And yeah, it was a passion through my entire life. Like my weekends, I would just want to create and make food, and I want to make eclairs today. I don't know how, but I'm going to, and I did when I was like 12 years old. So,
what were those first like dinners like when you guys were getting together and creating for your friends? Was that just like pure fun?
Yeah, totally pure fun. I mean, we would have Friendsgivings and just like, hey, try this, and we're like, people really loved it. So.
Did you have any kind of spark at that point to create a food business together?
Yeah, we had kind of played around with the thought, like, what if we did this? Like
what if we, and was it like, what if we were like chefs, or?
It was more like, maybe we should have a hot food truck. That was our thought, but then it kind of switched. We had a few mentors that were saying, focus on the sauces first, just the 2 sauces, because we have other products as well. Waiting to come out and be birthed. Wait. So he said just focus on those 2, and so we focused on the 2, and now everyone knows about it. And then we started to serve our hot food, and we've kind of displayed our other items in those hot food items. So, yeah.
And as a creative person, was it hard to stay focused on the 2 products?
It's like grapevines. You have to prune back to see the true fruit. There's a trimming that takes place in any kind of, in any business and in any production, to really focus on what's going to really take you,
And what was that conversation like when you guys said, okay, here it is, and how much money do you have, and what can we put it in? And what did that conversation look like? Where did that take place?
Well, we were just like, all right, well, if we have to start this, we have to start it with something. And so we both just threw in like $400 each, and we started with that.
What does that even look like? What does $800 get you?
Really nothing. We found out, but you know what? We made it work. And, you know, renting kitchen hours late night is a lot cheaper. So we were up till 2 a.m. making sauce. You know, people don't know all the love and tears and everything, and
that's what we want to. That's what this is for. We want to share all of that because there's so many people that have dreams that are on their heart. There's a lot of people who will reach out to us and say, "How do you even know what you love? Like, how do you even know?" And so
it just brings you joy. You know.
Yes. Say that again.
It brings you joy. Yeah.
What does joy feel like?
Oh, ecstasy, I guess. Just like that feeling of ecstasy. You're making someone else happy. You know.
Yeah, I think that's why for us, how we were saying how we start with the food truck and then the sauces. And then, like you're saying, as creative, it was kind of hard for us to hone in, hence the hot food pop-ups we do now. But we're established enough to do that. So we had to focus on the cheese to get our brand out there. And that's exactly what our mentor was saying, because then people will trust your hot food. And he was right. He was like, once people try the one product, then they'll go to the store maybe and they'll see your, you know, mushroom pate and be like, ooh, you know what? Nomad makes that. I bet it's great. It's, you know, because I love their cheese sauce. Why not try their other products? Because there's a million products out there, especially food products. And there's a lot of mislabeling and different stuff like that, which is a totally different conversation. But that's where the hot food allowed us to get creative with food. And that right there is where we have, I think, our biggest joy when we hand people food and they come back and they're like, oh my God, this is so good. Like, especially Carlsbad Farmers Market, because you get all types of people. We do a lot of vegan events, and those are like our people. They understand exactly why we're making the food this way. And so Carlsbad, we get a lot of the questions like, why? Why should I not have dairy? Why should I not have the meat? Or like, I'm curious. They're always a little curious. And usually we challenge them, like, try it. Just take a bite. Here's a sample. Try it. And they're usually blown away. People you would not even think of all age groups have walked away with 2 jars, you know, and they're like, I'm so excited. When can I get this online? Or like the best was this guy at the farmer's market. And I will always remember this guy. He was like this bigger, like kind of like rugged, rough looking guy. And he comes up and he goes, you guys nachos? What? Like, I love my carnitas nachos, you know? And I was like, you got to try ours. And I didn't really want to say, it's like sometimes when you have those people, you're like, do I want to say it's plant-based? I want them to try it though. And then I'll say it's plant-based. And we had him try a sample of the cheese and he's like, what? How this is so good. And we're like, exactly. And look at those ingredients. And he was like, what? And we're like, just have the nachos. You should try our nachos. And he's like, okay. He actually like was open to it. And he was like, yeah, I'll try it. And he bought some nachos. He comes back, does his little wrap around the market. 5 minutes later, comes back and he's like, that is top 3 foods. Top 3 foods I've ever eaten in my life. Best nachos I've ever had in my life. And he's like, I wanted to hate it so badly. He's like, trust me, I'm the biggest hater. He's like, I wanted to hate it. And he's like, but I can't. And that literally brought like so much joy to us. We were like, we turned a hater into a lover. Like, what just happened, you know? And he even admitted that he wanted to hate it. He wasn't ashamed to say that I wanted to hate it. And I was like, but you obviously did it because you bought it. So somewhere.
I think we just got the title for this podcast. Seriously, no joke, your freaking nachos are amazing. So I had them, I don't know when, like our last nothingness day when we were cruising around town. And it's like, I equate it to like when I go to Choice Juicery and you get a smoothie bowl and they put the granola on the bottom and on the top. Like, Rebecca, you made those nachos for me. Like, there's no lack of cheese sauce. So were you just fed up with just crap nachos? Or yep. Tell us about your nachos.
I mean, I've always been a fan of naughty nachos. You know, that was like Friday's
naughty
lunch.
Nachos.
You know what I mean? It's like that can, number 10 can of cheese sauce that you had as a kid, right? And you're like, how can I, and it was also like, how can I stay vegan? You know, like how can I not like go into that, eat dairy? And so like that's where that came from. My husband was like, I want something spicy, cheesy, you know, and yeah, that's where it came from. And you know, you just really, I'm a veganizer, so I can take any recipe and turn it vegan. Doesn't matter what it is, you know.
And what do you put on these nachos?
It's carnitas jackfruit, seasoned like Brazilian style black beans, our nacho cheese sauce, homemade pico de gallo, and guacamole.
It's so good.
That's it. It's just so good, though.
And then you have this other thing called the crunch wrap, which I market research had the other night as well, which is like amazing. And just so you guys know, it did not get soggy.
Good.
But what are you wrapping that in? Is that just a big tortilla?
Giant tortilla.
It's basically like nachos in a big tortilla, but the
Yeah.
way that you like wrap it and cook it, it's like amazing.
Griddled and crisp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crunchy mandala is our other nickname for it.
Yeah, I like that. That's what you should call it. You're
At yoga festivals.
yeah, yoga festival.
Yeah.
Totally,
And
yeah.
we've also done like an Indian version of that with like seasoned jasmine rice and like curry inside it. We had it last summer at the farmer's market.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yum.
So we kind of change up what's inside it sometimes.
What's one of your favorite stories from this journey?
I guess just every time we see breakthrough, it's like okay, we can keep going. You know, like we know we're on the right track. You know, I don't know.
Have you had one of those recently?
Yeah, this morning. We can't really. I don't know how much we can talk about it, but yeah, something good is coming soon. A lot of goodness is gonna happen.
When through this whole journey, is it tough to be in the spot right now where you're seeing all these great things? Do you still doubt it? Do you still have hesitation?
Definitely. You hear that negativity sometimes, and you're like, you just have to remind yourself of what is actually happening. You know, fear and anxiety is an imagination. You know, so you just have to create a good imagination for yourself, and you keep going, right?
Keep living in that space of what you would like to see it as.
Yeah. And because I mean, like you're saying, in your previous podcast that I'd listened to, it's if you're doing what you love, it manifests. And if you have a strong manifestation of powerful goodness, it'll come right back to you. And the universe provides. And that's what we've seen. Like from, if we look at when we first started, like just doing back alley deals and trying to make the cheese sauce in my tiny apartment at like 1:00 in the morning after we both worked. And we were just like, we're so tired, but people need the cheese. To now we're in a kitchen. We have all our licenses. We're a proper full running professional business. So it's steps like that actually I feel like we saw breakthroughs, is seeing our change to like, you know, we started about 2 years ago, but fully in markets about 1.5 years. So to see where we've come from that is like a big happiness for us.
Yeah. This is so good. What was because we talk to people all the time who listen to the podcast and they're like, I wish I could do that, and so you've had tons of obstacles along the whole way, like countless challenges. First of all, what was one of those your biggest challenges, and then what was the turning point? Like, what was the pivotal?
So I think last
point?
year was probably the hardest because I had quit my job halfway through the year.
What were you doing?
I was working at a juice bar.
Okay.
So it wasn't that intensive, but I fully quit, and Rebecca was still a full-time nanny. So that was probably the hardest for the company, as far as like maybe some tensions and the reality of like, she's tired, I'm tired. We had to make sauce. Like production in our kitchen was like super late. Like she was saying, we'd be working till 1:30 or 2. We couldn't do like out for the hours we would actually like make us sane. So we kind of both went a little crazy because we were trying to take on too much and we couldn't focus on the business. It was half. We were both like half in. And this like towards the end of the year, both of us are now able to put our full foot forward, like be completely in it. And then that's when we started seeing complete changes in the business where we're like, yes, we're on to something now. There's something really big here now that both of us are fully present, fully here. We don't have to do other jobs. Like her husband stepped up and was kind of like, you do that and I will take care of the financials, because of course it's the financial thing what came down to that reason we both had to work all the time, and her husband kind of took that weight off of her, and now the business is getting to a point where we can finally get to a point where we can actually bring something in to our homes and our financials as well.
What's your relationship to the financials? Like, what does it stir up inside when you quit the jobs and you're like, okay, so we're all in, but that doesn't mean the money's going to be flowing
Right.
in. So a lot of people have a history of just lack, right?
Yeah.
The lack of abundance. So how do you guys feel into that?
yes, at first it was definitely that feeling, where we were like, okay, I guess we're eating like a PB&J sandwich or something. Who knows? Maybe we'll just eat sauce with a potato. That's what we have. But like I said, I felt like right when both of us fully stepped in, like the financial stuff just started to like not be that much of an issue. Like it flowed as it should. And when we need to order more produce, we had enough to order more produce. And now we're at a point where we're like in Jimbo's, mark all the Jimbo's locations. We're growing to multiple stores. So we're 9 locations now. So we're in the farmers markets twice a week. And then even more events. Like we're getting events thrown at us like all the time where we're booked till like 2 months out right now, where we are like, so it all came to us fully when we really both were like, we want to do it. I guess it just happened, if that makes sense. And then that burden, the financial stuff kind of like,
we keep reassuring ourselves that we don't freak out.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay. You know?
Yeah, I think expand on that. So how do you not freak out?
You just, seriously, it's just the mindset. You know, you just have to really just say, you know, let's not freak out. Let's figure out, instead of looking at maybe there might be a problem, like how are we going to be able to buy jars this week, or, you know, or cashews, you know, those are the really high expense things that we have to pay for. And we just don't freak out and hope that, you know, someone pays the bill from like Jimbo's or like another grocery store, you know, that it comes on time, and it does, you know, so you just have to trust that.
How do you trust? Do you guys have do you have a mindset practice or something where you guys sort of?
Yeah, I think we both try to meditate every morning, and just try to manifest and see what we want to see this company, you know, like we've written down our 5-year plan. And so this year we're focusing on certain things. And so what we want to see, and it's been happening for us. It's crazy.
But it's not, it's you guys have given yourself into this.
Yeah.
And I like to just backtrack to like the joy aspect of it. And that's where the root of this all is. We had Talbot Cox on our podcast. He's a photographer and a videographer, and he just didn't know what to do, didn't know what he was going to do, and just loved the sport of triathlon. So he just dove all in. He was like, I'm all into this. And he can recall days that he would be out there filming these Ironman events, which are not just short events. They're like hours, like 16, 18 hours. And he would forget to eat. Yeah. He would forget to eat. He was just so fueled by the joy and satisfaction. Do you guys feel like it too?
Definitely. We forget to eat all the time because we were just having so much fun and we were just doing so many things. We're like, oh my gosh, it's 3:00. We haven't eaten today. Yeah.
One of the stories you had mentioned Talbot, and one of the stories I love about him is he says like he would be meeting people, you know, for dinner or whatever, but he'd be eating peanut butter sandwiches in the car because he didn't know if he was going to have to pay for dinner or not, and he didn't have enough money to pay for him too. So he was like, eat before, and we've totally done that too. Oh my God. And so it's but these are the days that we are all going to turn around and say, oh my God, remember when we just like had a potato and cheese and we were like wiping the bowl with the potato to eat because we hadn't eaten in 7 hours? Yeah. Has this business required you to get vulnerable?
Definitely. We've both, because we've
like with each other too.
Yeah, with each other. We've definitely had our days with each other, but you know, we always like call each other out on our stuff, and you know, because we both really love each other. You know, there's Jasmine's like my sister, my little sister, really. Yeah. So we
and we're like, don't take it personally. Because like it's like we can have arguments because we're both passionate about our business and we both have visions, but that's what we know. We know we're both going in love for it. So it's like how she's saying, like sisters, you argue and you fight with your sister, and sometimes, you know, when you're younger, you maybe knock them on the head, but you're still like, I love you. Are you okay? I just want to make sure, you know, like it'll always be that like unconditional love that just happens when family. And that's what we've turned into. I mean, she always is like, you're my what is it, business wife, basically. Like we're married in a way, you know, like everything we put in was 50-50, and now we're growing this business, and We have to talk to each other about different things. Like if I get emails or this or that, we sit down and we're like, okay, like what needs to be accomplished today? Like everything is always like a partnership, which has made, honestly, opening a business a lot. It's like has its easier and it has its challenges, I guess, because some people are like, oh, you're so lucky you have someone. You're like, yes and yes. I mean, of course. It's always easier to have your partner with you. You have someone else, jumping off with you, taking like the leap to go for it. And I think, yeah, like once we both did it, it was just like fully just happened for us. And we've always thought of like, even right now, we're still hand peeling every potato by hand. So fun fact, we've peeled like 10, probably 15,000 pounds of potatoes, because there's like almost a potato in every jar, and we've done a lot of jars. And, so we literally will peel potatoes just right when we get to the kitchen, and we're like, we laugh sometimes, even now, instead of kind of getting irritated by that, to be honest, I'm looking at it and I'm just like, we're going to laugh about this when we have like an actual machine and a facility that like, remember when we used to cut our own potatoes? Like how silly were we? Look how small we were. We were just peeling our potatoes by hand. And like, that's what we think of when those moments, I guess, of like not positivity kind of tried to leak in. I'm just like, no, like it's going to actually be really funny when we have a machine and we have a facility and we have employees and it's all going to happen. Like it's already there. I'm already seeing that happen. I'm already seeing myself look back and be like, remember when we used to hand peel the potatoes? Yeah. When we stayed up at 2 a.m., we still do each label by hand. Like we haven't taken, everything is still done. Carrots, peeled, chopped, everything's organic. So everything is still we're moving slowly in a way because we want everything to stay of high quality. And we've noticed when you just go too fast, then the quality might dissipate in other brands, because both of us have worked in food. And the biggest thing that always happens in food, from my experience, is they might start off with an honest brand, and then they get convinced, oh, well, this will be cheaper. Oh, well, just do this, or just put it in plastic, or just use this powder. Just use something that's not organic. Like we get that all the time. Does it have to be organic? I'm like, yeah, it has to be organic. It has to be in glass. I don't want to contribute to more of the plastic waste. So that's one thing that we get pushback from the bigger stores. Obviously, I'm like, we go to stores, and the biggest thing they're like, oh, your packaging. It's one of those things you don't notice until you're in, like, obviously the grocery industry that we kind of are in now, how much goes into getting a product there, how little they pay for it, and how much they mark it up. And that they like see our jars and they're like, they're too big. I can't stack stuff on top of it. Employee could drop it. Like they see us as a high liability. And I'm like, but I don't want to put it in one of those cheap plastic containers that are stackable for you. Sorry, restock the case. Like, right. I don't know. Like, and I'm like, it has to be dippable. I want people to be able to dip their hands in there and like get all the little remnants.
Oh, and not get cheese sauce all over your knuckles.
Or you got to break the chip to get into the mouth of the jar. Exactly. I was doing that yesterday with that little jar, and I'm like, oh, my fingers again. I want to be able to just dip the big chip in.
Yeah.
All right. There's so many things in what you just said, like a million directions that I could go right now. But I want to ask you, because I think this is such a big topic for people. We talk about it in many different lights with our athletes, is this idea of vulnerability. So what does vulnerability feel like to you? And what do you believe it opens you up to?
So with vulnerability, I guess I would say it's always, I don't know what book I read, but probably most meditation books always say this. Just take that leap, take that, what you don't know, and then figure it out from there. And like that is vulnerable. And I guess I've always just done that, especially with the business. There have been times where you just have to be vulnerable. Just take the mask off, take the whatever burdens you have, the weights you're carrying, and just take it off and just see what happens. Because if you don't, then like, are you truly living? We're here to experience every moment, whether it's good or bad, I think. And so if you stay at the mediocre job and you just stay at the things they told you to do, like, and then you look back at your life when you're like in your 80s and you're like, did I fulfill, there's just so many people now that you see the generation and the shift that's happening in the world that people are like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to just do this because I'm supposed to do it. I want to do something different. And I think that does take vulnerability, but it's well worth it for sure. You're vulnerable for an instant and then you're like, free. Yeah. I feel like.
Do you feel like that's what it gives you? Freedom?
Yeah. It's like diving off the dive board first when you're a kid. It's really scary. And now you're just like, oh, once you take a couple leaps and a couple like things, you're like, okay, everything will work out as it should. Like we just recently did do some shifts in the business and things like that are happening. And we were vulnerable, but we're like, if it's meant to be, it'll be, you know, and that's all you can say.
I think it's also accepting of it's not going to be perfect.
Exactly. Oh, that was the hardest too. And that's still the hardest. And that's, yeah, I'm more of the one who's like, no, it has to be this way, Rebecca. What are you doing? And she's like, calm down.
There's always another way. Right? Yeah. There's always other options. Like, and it's great that Jasmine and I can be that vulnerable with each other. She really loves to speak her concerns, and I do too. And even if, you know, she'll say like 1,000 words per minute, and then I have to like take that in and process it before I speak anything.
And she's
out.
like, wait, did you hear that?
I was like, yes, let's take some time and think about it, because if I don't, I will retaliate and just start saying things like, let's stop, you know, like, or I'll say a no, or let's just wait, or whatever, you know. So,
well, if you're like family, you know which each other's triggers are.
Yeah, and I think we balance each other out in that way. That I am more, especially in the mornings. Like I have my juice and I have this, and she's like, I'm still halfway through my coffee, and I'm like, but I have all these things going on. And I'm
like sideways.
So we definitely, like balance each other out in that way. Cause sometimes, I need that calming down and that like, let's think about it. Let's not just, cause I can overcommit. I'm like, yes, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. I hate telling people no. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And then we look at our calendar and we're like, oh man, when do we get to sleep? When do we have time to take a breath? And like, she does that for me for sure. She'll be like, no, you have to say no to this event or no to that, because we can't. It's just about, we need a day off. Sometimes you have to say that, which for me, because of doing school my whole life and always like being in like the honor students and all that, it's like, what? You're saying no to an assignment? Like it kind of freaks me out. And then that's the thing where you just say let go, because then I think, oh my God, then they're not going to like us. And then they're not going to think about us next time. And she'll be like, no, but we are also important. And I think that's where like the vulnerability of work too, like to say like part of working is working on yourself and being with yourself and having your rest time.
A big part of success is allowing. And that's one of the most flawed premise that we have as humans, that it always has to be through hard work and only hard work. And we don't step back for allowing to have the energy that is behind the scenes organizing for us. Now, that said, Jasmine, I'm like, you speak my language. Yeah. Like I wake up every morning going, respect your husband. Like he doesn't need the list of 50 things that you are super excited about. He hasn't even had his coffee yet. Like just get him his coffee and then feel him out. Yeah. And maybe you can talk about one of those things.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's like, I feel like I wake up in the morning and I'm just like holding back until I feel like he has risen to some level of, you know, clarity where I can like start firing some things at him, you know? Yeah. So I totally get that. And so it sounds like Rebecca she slows you down a little bit, which is exactly what we need.
What you need. That's why I'm saying it's a great balance, because it is in that thing when you do take that leap, I guess, of being an entrepreneur, there is that constant like, no, I should constantly be thinking about it, because you're not doing this clock in, clock out thing.
No.
You are like, it's 7 o'clock, it's 6 o'clock. Should I be doing something? I should be being productive today. I have to make sure I'm productive today. Productive. But then when does that stop? So like, she helps me kind of balance that out of like being with yourself and going on a walk. That's productive.
Yes.
Doing something that's not for the business is productive still. Like, because life is still there.
Once a month, BJ and I have a nothingness day. And the thing about nothingness day, which most people do, because they hear that and they go, oh, that would be so nice. And I'm like, well, wait, you don't even know what nothingness day is about. So just relax a minute. Nothingness day is about planning nothing. it's not about doing nothing. So some days on Nothingness Day, we're going all day long, but we're, like, oh, let's go to the dog park. Oh, let's go to the farmer's market. Oh, let's go to the beach and meditate. Let's go read a book. Let's take a nap. Let's watch a movie, whatever it is. But you can't plan anything. So you see this day on your calendar because we block it off. It says Nothingness Day, and you just watch the mind, how it's like, oh, I'm going to go to acupuncture. Oh, I'm going to schedule, and you can't schedule anything. That's the rule of Nothingness Day. Yeah. And we had Nothingness Day on Wednesday. And before we saw you guys at the market, we went to the beach and we meditated. And I think I said to you, I don't know if it was then or an earlier part in the day, BJ, just said, this is one of the most important things for our business, is to not do anything with the business. Like, it's one of the most important things. Rebecca, so we know what you teach Jasmine. What does she teach you?
Well, I feel like I used to strive because I was also, in a lot of crazy classes as well. And I feel like I used to strive, and I've realized not to, but she still keeps me going. She puts that fire under the pot.
Because you still need, her fire is really important to the business.
Definitely. Because we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't even be in Jimbo's or places like that if it weren't for Jasmine. It's a beautiful flow that we have, I think. She can fire me up and then I can cool her down,
Exactly.
And it's cool. Like you were saying in the Nothingness Days, sometimes there are divine appointments that happen in those Nothingness Days that we need. And it's been so encouraging. Like, you want to talk about the story of when you were walking to Beacons?
Oh, yeah.
And we were just talking about, we want to help our community, like pour back into the community. And she randomly started speaking to...
Yeah, I started talking to this one guy who comes to the farmer's market all the time. He's like running with his kids, and he like sees me. He goes, you look so like... Because he always sees me at the farmer's market. And now we have, on Sundays, we do have an employee that goes there. So that gives us our Sunday to like walk to the beach. And so walking to the beach in that mood where you're like, I have nothing to do. I'm just going to walk to the beach. And he could see that on my face. And he usually sees me at farmer's market. So he was like, it's so cool to see you like this. Like very like... just cruising around. Like, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just walking to the beach and then going home. I don't know. Like, and he was like, and then he like did his wrap around because he was like jogging with the kids. And then on my way back home, I ran into him again because we live on the same street apparently. And he was like, you know what? You just inspired me. He's, I want to start a group of just like fully conscious like business owners and entrepreneurs and see what we can do to start the community. Like, if it's, he's like, he's like, I literally am just developing this idea right now after talking to you. And he's like, I want to do that pure, simple joy and just help people cultivate that more in the community. Cause like, we live in a beautiful place, Carlsbad and Encinitas, but you like, where's our community center? Where's our space to not have profit, but just have growth, just have a space where like, because this city is actually full of a lot of entrepreneurs. Yeah, like that's why you're seeing people at the beach at 2 p.m. on a Friday or on a Wednesday cruising the Carlsbad market, because we all are creative entrepreneurs that are like, we want to do this, we want to do that, and we can all collectively come together and then not only converse together, but feed the youth in that. Like, feed the youth in that maybe like miseducation they kind of get from some public school that might be telling them they got to do this and this and this and this, and if you don't, like, how stressful is that? Like, our youth have to grow up to this stress, like, you better get this exam, like everything's test, take this test, this number, and then you apply to this school with these numbers and this application and fill out this paperwork, and that's how we're judged. I'm like, that's not who you are though. And then you get stuck, and then you got that you have to get that job, and then you get stuck in that mindset that that's how college was, well, that's how high school was, so this is just how life is. And you're like, that's not. There's actually so much more joy to the life than just that. That's like the tiniest aspect, especially when you live in a place like we do, where like you just walk around and you're just like it's winter time and it's like beautiful out. We're just sitting in the sun, just like right before, and being like, oh, just basking in that like a kitty. Like, oh, it's so nice. Those simple joys is what life's about.
And I love on your website, it says like this company was born from joyful moments.
Yeah. Because that's where it sparked our joy of food, is when we had the dinners. We were just randomly having dinners And we were inviting like everybody, we soon had to like push it out of my apartment because there was like too many people. I'm like, all right, I think we need to go to the community area in my apartment because everyone's not like fitting in here. And that was right there. We were like, that's so joyful for us. It would be like, we would make all this food and everyone would be, and it was always plant-based. And we invited vegans, non-vegans, people who eat all different types of stuff. And the food was always demolished, every bit, always gone. So that brought us joy, like introducing a plant-based diet to people and letting them know that, one, it doesn't have to be the fake stuff. Cause I know people get a lot like, oh, I don't want to eat fake chicken. And it's like, you don't have to eat that. That's a part of what has come out of the food industry, which the food industry does to every aspect of diets. They push out some processed food and junk food, and that can happen, but the core of it is just eating plants, eating of the earth, things that grow, things that you can create with. And that's why we make all our stuff with like jackfruit. We're going to use we use jackfruit a lot in our food because we use organic jackfruit and it is actually a plant, and then we just season it because all these seasonings come from plants. Everything you have is like of the plants, So essentially I think people might have a misinterpretation or misinformation of where their steak flavor might come from. It's the herbs and the stuff.
Especially with cheese products, people don't realize how much sodium actually goes into cheese and the casein in it as well that makes you addicted to it, because it's a type of morphine.
So what is it that's making me so addicted to Nomad Eats nacho cheese though? Like, tell me about
the nutrients. The nutrients.
It's my healthy microbiome.
The nutrients, and then that it just has that delicious flavor to it. And of course that we're putting love into every single batch.
Let's talk about the love in the batch.
Sounds cheesy, but cheesy. But we do say a prayer from the beginning, even when we're making little tiny batches in my apartment. Every batch, we take a moment, we stop, we touch the blender, and we give it we hope everyone who eats it feels joy. That's the biggest thing. It feels joy and feels nourished. So maybe that's why you're feeling joy and you're feeling nourished. We say that to every batch. That's literally our last little sprinkle of ingredient. Joy and feel nourished, because that's why we make the food. We want everything we're always making. Even when we're chopping the potatoes and the carrots, we're thinking that. We're constantly thinking that no, we don't allow any negativity to come into our kitchen. If it is, then we take it off. We talk for a moment if that needs to happen. And then every piece that's being cut, everything, both of our minds are set to this is for nourishing the food. Anything else can be thought about later.
Yeah, I think it's an incredibly important ingredient. Everything is energy. How did you guys create this incredible cheese sauce that's it's better than any nacho cheese I've ever had, but it's also not filled with oils and it's made from whole foods?
Yeah. That was more, so Rebecca, she was saying, Johnny, her husband, was she was definitely on a thing where she was no oil in the house and no dairy in the house. He still lives his full lifestyle of what he eats, but especially
he's guy who drives around with a cooler in his car.
Yeah, he can.
I literally threw away all the dairy and all the oil in my house. I'm a true believer of what Dr. John McDougall teaches. The healthiest diet on the planet is whole food, plant-based, oil-free, and preservative-free. And choosing organic as well really helps out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
So was this born from your influence of
Yeah,
this?
I was very gung-ho. And so I was I'm going to make cheese sauce without any of that crap in it. On the McDougall website, he uses soy for a lot of stuff, but I didn't want to do that. And then, there's other cashew recipes, and he's all about potatoes, right? And so I was all right, let's do this. Let's do something with potato. And so there's always potassium and all the vitamins in there, and then carrots and onions is the base. Because that's if you think about it, all meals have some kind of onion and carrot or garlic or, and you just go from there. You just make it, keep making it until it tastes good,
So that was the base?
Yeah.
So potatoes are basically like the foundation of
Yeah,
this
it's
cheese.
mostly potato and then carrot and then onion and cashew and a little coconut milk and then herbs and spices.
So with potatoes as the base, you might say that this is like the perfect food for endurance athletes.
Yeah. It's high carb, low fat. So it's great for energy, quick energy that doesn't slow you down. Yeah.
We might have to have this at my 100-mile race in July. It's a little.
Yeah.
Those potato wraps you have, throw on the mashed potato wraps, throw on the
I used
cheese.
to photograph for the Ironman in Kona, Hawaii. I used to be one of the photographers.
Really?
Yeah, and it was so funny because I was like, man, how are these guys eating all these carbs and they're so skinny, you know? And I didn't have the understanding yet that carbs were energy, you know?
When was this? When were you in Kona?
Oh gosh, 13, 14 years ago.
What took you? How did you
So
become?
I used to live in Hawaii. That's where I did all my
okay.
schooling and stuff like that. And I was a photographer and yeah.
What do you think of that event?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, someday I hope to do an Ironman, you know, like to just be that disciplined. It's just amazing.
It is. And you're in the birthplace of triathlon here in San Diego. So what fuels did you see them taking in when you were?
Lots of spaghetti.
Yeah.
It's a lot of spaghetti. There's this like one Italian restaurant in town, and when all the triathletes came in town, it was like a lot of like the smoothie places were always booked up, like all the Italian places, Thai places even. Yeah, a lot of pasta. That's what I saw them eating.
Which hasn't really changed because I mean we were eating pasta and rice, but now we're really big on the potatoes.
Yeah.
As well, especially for trail running, the long endurance.
Right.
And Jess has her first 100-miler coming up, so definitely be fueling with maybe some Nomad Eats cheese.
A big thing that even our followers like to do is like air fried potatoes. So just basically French fries, and we throw it in our air fryer. So no oil, and then dip it in cheese. And you're just basically like, I'm eating potatoes on potatoes on potatoes. You're like, yes, I've always loved potatoes. So I'm like, yeah, you throw some broccoli, but like, yeah, the air fryer is amazing. So that allows me to eat my favorite food, French fries, all the time without oil.
So where do you see this developing? Where do you see this expanding to? And
we are hoping to get
If you can
cheese
share.
sauce on every doorstep. We're hoping to start an online store and just like share, because I feel like there's definitely the vegan, obviously food is growing. You know, we see that as far as even seeing that fast food joints are taking on plant-based items. They're still processed and fake. And then you're not seeing like a vegan cheese that's real out on the market. And I feel like there's definitely vegan cheeses out there. Ours is a little bit easier to introduce to people because we take it to parties and they don't know it's vegan. That's the tough part right now too. Some people see the V word and like there's a separation, there's a division that's happened almost. So if we can that's why I just say it's dairy free. You know, people love that. That's a little bit more inviting. It's just a different word. And they don't think that it tastes vegan. So that's where we get them. So our big manifestation has always been Petco Park. We live in San Diego. Imagine veganism is big here. Imagine if we can get that nostalgic nachos and cheese, all plant-based, dairy-free. Even I know because the dairy-free aspect I think is growing even more so because actually a majority of our customers aren't vegan. They're just dairy-free. They realize dairy hurts their belly. So that's the one step forward. And then eventually it'll be maybe the meat. But it's a one step forward. In their day, they're taking on at least one more conscious effort to not have dairy because they're realizing, oof, my body does not feel good after that. And that's that one conscious movement of it. And then it happens because I used to work in many juice bars. So I would always help people. I was a cleanse manager. So I'd always help people cleansing. And you always get the people who are like, this is going to be the hardest thing. I already have my steak dinner booked. Like for when I'm done, I just want to get through this. I can't, I'm not excited about it. Or they say like, I ate a big burger before this. Like I have my binge before I did this. And what's so funny is that the way to see them change by the end of majority of the cleanses, they were like, that does not even look appealing. Most of them would want to continue to cleanse because once you feel good, and that's the biggest thing I think is like, it's not about being vegan or about being dairy free. It's about take a moment, maybe test it out, take dairy out of your diet and see how you feel. I bet you'll have a lot more energy. You'll have a lot more, you won't feel so tired, lethargic. your bowels will move a little easier. There's your skin will look better. Like there's so many things that like once people take it out, I think they'll realize the benefits of the diet versus saying, no, you need to do this. You need to be this. You need to be that. It's more of like, just take it out. So I feel like with our cheese sauce, we're introducing the idea that, ooh, I'm having my nachos. I'm having my pretzels and cheese. I'm having my burrito. I'm having my, and I didn't have to put cheese on it. Okay, maybe next time we'll make it a full thing. Maybe I'll take out the meat. But like it's an awareness that's starting to build, especially people with their children, especially know that, ooh, dairy doesn't work because they're the ones who have to clean up after the kids. So they're realizing dairy doesn't work for their kid. And then that's just one step more we're gaining. Because I think before was the opposite. People would always be like, oh, I'm vegetarian because, oh, I still eat cheese. It's totally fine. And now you're seeing this flop where you're kind of seeing people like, oh no, well, dairy hurts me because it's so processed and there's so much like, and there is still like negativeness to that industry they're creating and stuff and abuse happening. So I feel like the cheese sauce is that like mediator. It's that middle ground. Because then they can still go eat all their other stuff. Like when people tell me like, I put this on chicken, I love it on this, love it on that. I'm like, however you eat it, I'm so happy you're bringing this into your diet and eating one less like melted cheese slice from a store.
Yeah. So what would it take to get you into Petco? Have you even started going down that road?
We've manifested. Yeah, we can. Yeah. So we've manifested it first off, and then well, we're growing our business. We're doing all the right things. We are looking to expand. So we did hopefully get a kitchen, which will allow us to expand our business, which is honestly the thing that's only holding us back right now. Because right now it's the small things you don't realize. You can only order one case of potatoes. Where we're going to put it? Have you guys discussed earlier? Space is the biggest thing. Once you have the space, you can order pallets of potatoes. You can order pallets.
Okay. So
and we can bring that cost down because that's our biggest thing right now. The cost of the product is high because we buy everything organic. I mean, when we buy organic cashews, a bag of organic cashews is over $300. So that's just the cashews. That's not even the other aspects. That's not the glass jar. That's not all the other organic ingredients that go into it. So we need to have that like buying power. And the only way you can get that buying power is with a space. So that's why we took that leap and we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to get a place. We're going to do it. So we're really excited. That's just super. Oh, right. Okay. That's too. And then I will.
There's so much good stuff.
There is. Yes. That's what I mean. It all flourished. It happened. And so I've been talking to Seaside Market for like the moment we started. I've been taking them samples. I take it to the guy. He loses it. I take it again. He loses it. I take it again. He loses it. And I'm just like, can you? And so then one day I took the jar and I took a hot thermos of cheese and I was like, try this, please. I have chips. I have a hot thermos. And he's like, no, it's too early. I don't want to eat anything right now. And I'm like, oh, this is my third time. And I was just like, and I think he saw like in my eyes, like this girl's not going to leave me alone, is she? And he's like, I won't try this now because it's too early for cheese sauce. I'm like, you haven't tried it, so you don't know it's not too early. And he's like, but I will try it. I promise you I will try it. Email me in a day or two. I will have the team try it. And I'm like, okay. And I email him and he was just like, oh, it was really good. But again, he's like, the glass is too big. They have very
focusing
small,
on the negatives.
Yeah, they just have a very small
potential.
Perishable space. And the price, cost, all that stuff. He didn't think it would move and all this stuff. And I was just like, just let me try it. I have so many people who want to go there. And he's like, okay, we'll do Costco Roadshow type of thing is what they call it, where you go in with your product. They don't technically have it on the shelves. I would be there. They would pay me out at the end and whatever sells, they'll decide from there they will decide to carry your product. And I was like, yes, let's do it. Then he just like never emailed me again. I was emailing him. And then just like this year in January, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be like, Happy New Year. Hey again. Like we were going to do something. You said we would plan. And I get it. Everyone's busy. They have their jobs. And I knew that's definitely a job where it's like, oh, clocked out. Bye. I'm not going to deal with like the emails later. And I emailed him and he goes, I have these 2 dates open next month. Let's do it. And now I'm like, and Seaside, is in Petco Park. They have their own little space there where they do their like sandwiches and deli. And I'm like, if we can get in Seaside, then we can start talking to the people of Petco Park. Like even when we manifested this, like years ago when we started the company, we were like Seaside and then it's Petco Park. Like it's exactly happening the way that we kind of like manifested it. We were like Seaside first and then that'll be our leap into Petco Park. Cause you're like, how do I even talk to Petco Park? But if Seaside's already there.
I love it. So, okay, Rebecca. I love it. So Jasmine's touched upon it a couple times. I've heard it in her words. She is 100% like manifested.
Yeah.
Like when Jasmine was talking about peeling the potatoes, she's like, I can see it though. I can see us laughing about this. Yeah. I can see the machine. Yeah. I can feel what it's going to be like to be at that point in the business. And this is the missing piece, you guys. I was just talking to a professional triathlete yesterday and we were doing mindset training and I don't think I've ever described it this way before, but it makes so much sense. It's like we think that we have these dreams and we have to always be running towards our dreams. But what we can also do, which so few people understand, is that we can using our imagination in a way where, we're still running after our dreams, but guess what? The dreams are now running towards us. And this is what I've heard Jasmine describe a couple times already through her words, just the way that she's speaking. So for you, how has like the manifesting, how does that take place for you?
Same as Jasmine, I start out my morning and just, really focus and visualize like, okay, well, who am I and where are we going? And this is just one facet of a multifaceted human being. There are no limitations. We've realized like we have to take the roof off any kind of limitation. And so now it's just literally we get to dream. We get to dream and it's chasing after us. The dreams are chasing us.
It's the best,
it's so fun. While we're peeling those potatoes, it's just like conversations like, it's going to be so silly. We're going to go look back at the day. Like, remember we used to peel everything by hand or, we remember when we didn't have a van or didn't have a kitchen, and we just keep going from there.
Yes. Like you're living from there.
We're living from the end.
Yep.
We're focused. We're focused on, the finish line.
You're living from the finish line.
We're living, exactly.
Knowing that the finish line is going to continue to evolve and get even bigger.
Exactly.
BJ and I talk like that all the time. Like I talk about I'll say, God, how good did it feel to pay your parents' mortgage off? Didn't that feel so good when we got to do that? And we got to fly them all out here and we got to do all this fun stuff. Wasn't that great when we got to do that? That was so great. I can't wait to do that. Who else needs their mortgage paid off? I can't wait. I'm so excited. That's so much fun to do. I love doing that. But and you have to use your imagination. Yes. So
it's very important.
I work with people all the time about this. And what I find is that a lot of people, not everybody, but there are a lot of people who are stuck in the mind. They're stuck in the thinking, which is where all the limitations are. Yeah. Because all the thinking is based on the evidence that you're looking at and everything that has transpired prior to that moment. Yeah. Okay. How does somebody start to use their imagination? Which seems like a really kind of a crazy question, but this is what I get all the time. Somebody says, I don't understand. How do I practice feeling like the business owner who's serving tens of thousands of people a day at Petco Park? How do I imagine that feeling?
So what I like to do is I'll actually find a time when my husband and nothing else is going on, and I'll lie down on my couch in the living room, and I actually just set everything else aside, like mentally. I'll put everything on the shelf, everything else, even like even little business things that that are important, and I start to focus on like that main goal, and I start to visualize and see like where are we going to be, like what is that path, and just literally walking down that visual path in your mind and allowing yourself the time and the rest to do that. And then all of a sudden it'll be like 3 hours later. And I feel like Jasmine's probably the same way.
And you have like 5 messages from Petco Park.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I missed all these phone calls.
Yeah, no, it is cool. You like afterwards, you look at your phone and you're like, oh wow, cool.
Right, that happened this morning.
I know, both of us.
I can't wait to hear about what happened this morning. So when whatever happened this morning happens into the physical reality, you'll have to let us know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll happen soon.
Everybody's going to want to know. Final question here. How important is it to do what you love?
Oh my gosh. You are living in your own skin finally, is what it feels like. And it feels vulnerable and you feel naked sometimes and just, oh man, it just, right? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely very joyful. And I don't think till you do it, do you realize how much joy it is. Yeah. And then you see other people suffering and you're like, do it. What are you doing? And they're too scared to do it. And you're like, but I'm so great over here though, cause it's, I guess, yeah, it's going to be scary at first and you're going to be unsure. But I've always thought like, if in your gut, it feels like do it, just do it. And it'll all figure out. And if sometimes the answer is, we'll figure it out when we get there. That's the answer. We'll figure it out when we get there. It really is the answer. Like that's what we've done. We were like, okay, we're going to get this. Okay, we'll figure it out when we get there. We'll do this market. We'll do this. We'll figure it out when we get there. Cause you do. We're humans. We figure it out. Like we'll figure ourselves out when we're there. And I think it's so nice now that like I feel so happy. I've never felt so fulfilled with the job I'm doing. And I just don't think anyone knows it till they do it. And I see all these people suffering and I'm like, come on.
Well, that's the pivotal moment right there. When you said it, you feel it in your gut and then you act. And that space, that quick moment right there is the win. So that's either going to move you to listen to your gut or your mind's going to get involved and it's going to be like, whoa, pump the brakes. This doesn't make sense. I need some data and some information. So tuning into the gut is absolutely a necessary practice to move you to do what you love. And I think the people that you see out there who aren't doing it, because in my experience, I do this too, it's just motivating me to up my game too, to continue to pursue what scares me. They're like a teacher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us today. It's been amazing. I can't wait to see what's next and where we're going to go with this.
Yeah, this was really awesome. It's always so great to talk to like people, like-minded people who are doing the same thing and taking the risk and then spreading that message. It's really important to spread that message with the podcast. Yeah.